Hey everybody, Jake here. Welcome back to Movie Smoothie, where today we have a review of Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 2, Rick, a Mort Well Lived. What a title to an episode. Now, before we get into that review, if you guys can like this video and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. So, the 95% on Rotten Tomatoes TV series, Rick and Morty, is in its 6th season. If you're new here, I've been covering the season up until this point pretty much, and I will probably do the entire season as well. But today we're doing a little review of Season 6, Episode 2, which is being described as, Morty is trapped, and Rick needs to save him. But to do so, Summer must do a Die Hard. This won't be easy because she's never seen it. So, it's a very, very funny episode. I really liked this one. I think that Season 6 is off to a great start. But to kind of give you some a little more preface than that little descriptions did there. Essentially, we have Morty trapped in the video game Roy, which was already introduced to us back in Season 2, if you remember, and now we're kind of doing a little bit of a replay on that, which I love. I think this is a very underutilized joke from Season 2 that's coming back, which is great. I love it. It's awesome. Now, the twist is that Morty has been split into 1/5 of a person in this video game, and he's all of the NPC characters, while Rick, playing as Roy, is trying to get him all back together on some spaceships throughout the episode so that they can go out into basically the ends of the game so that it can just like lag out and then just spit him back out essentially. All 5 billionths, but that's the problem. You can't just get one of them because that's only like a quarter of a fraction, essentially a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of Morty. So I think this is pretty interesting stuff here, though. I really loved this concept for the episode, and even though Morty really isn't in it, it's almost like the whole episode's more about him than anything, which I think is fascinating to me. I loved it. I think this was a great concept for an episode and a genius way to bring back the whole Roy plotline. It was a lot of fun. I really thought this one was cool. But going through like this plotline, essentially, I have a few things I wanted to comment on that I thought were hilarious. I also loved the Summer plotline, even if I definitely liked the Roy one much more. It was much more interesting, but I loved Summer's plotline trying to do a Die Hard. It was very funny. She's never seen it before, but that ends up making her the most perfect John McClane-esque character, because if you've seen Die Hard, you know he has no idea what the fuck he's doing, and that's that's how Summer gets through this, essentially, is because she also has no idea what she's doing. I think that's great. It's very funny. We have our main alien terrorist, as Rick calls him, voiced by Peter Dinklage, which I think is awesome. Amazing voice actor, amazing actor in general. Huge fan of his from Game of Thrones, especially. It was really cool to hear his voice in this episode. It was awesome. But yeah, there's a lot of little tidbits that I picked up on that were fun, between some nice Die Hard references and just some really silly Justin Roiland-esque jokes here. We have this Don't Touch Me machine, which is one of the playable games at Blitz and Chits. Is it Blips and Chits? I always forget where the P and the T is in those two words, but I think I'm close enough. I think I got it pretty good there. There's a Don't Touch Me machine, which is a playable game here, which the whole game is not to touch it. There you go. You know, in a multiverse where there's just a million different possibilities, one of these possibilities is that one of the machines will be a Don't Touch Me machine. And even though this is a super ridiculous and silly concept, it's totally plausible in Rick and Morty. One of the things I love about this show. So we see Summer accidentally bump into this, and it alerts the guards, and then it just starts going, "Don't touch me! Hey, I don't like being touched! Don't do that!" And it's just it's so silly and ridiculous, but it's funny. It's great. It's kind of setting that up for a little bit there. It's very funny. I love it. There's also this tiny laser gun that shoots like a really very small laser. You can barely see it on screen, with a really disappointing sound. Very reminiscent of the cricket gun from Men in Black, where it's like this little tiny gun and he kind of doesn't want to use it, but then it ends up being the most powerful gun in the Men in Black's arsenal. So very funny stuff. I love jokes like this. That was really just a really nice touch. I liked that. super disappointing sound too, which is, I don't know, that's just hilarious to me. Going back to our Morty plotline, though, within, something that was set up at the very beginning of this episode is that when who is Rick playing Roy within the video game, very confusing to try to explain. He's trying to get all the Mortys together, and it accidentally kind of starts a religion. And then we see our Marta character, who is one of the 5 billionths of Morty, who is kind of one of our lead characters here, which I think is interesting. We'll talk about her a little later in this video, but we have all of the characters saying "aw geez" in succession. It's like, "aw geez, aw geez, yeah, come on in, we're we're all Mortys. We're all gonna be a 14-year-old boy. We're all gonna jerk off. It's gonna be great. It's a nice little running joke throughout this. It's very funny. You just see them continuously convert people. If it's this Marine character early on, the president says later on that he knows that he's a 14-year-old boy and all that. It's just a really hilarious plotline. They're all Mortys, but they all look like very different characters, which is really funny. It's a nice little bit that runs throughout this episode while also being very smart, just like how most Rick and Morty is. I like it. And then going back to the summer plotline, she's doing her best at doing a Die Hard. She's literally calling John McClane Die Hard and all that. Like, oh, I am Die Hard. He is a Die Hard or whatever. She's never seen it, which is great. I love how this comes back at the ending, essentially, when not only does she throw the walkie-talkie at Peter Dinklage's character, who, by the way, that thing is so cute, the fucking walkie-talkie. Kind of wish it made like a little sound, like a goo goo gaga baby noise or something. That would have been great. But then at the end here, we see that she's read this like Bible that this dude made, that this dude wrote about Die Hard, which is so funny. She kind of knows how it ends then and has the gun taped to her back. She ends up not really having to use it because Rick and Morty wake up at the same time, and they essentially take over and take down the terrorists, which is okay, cool, great, happy ending, awesome. But there's more to this story than that, because it ends with Marta's character still being in the video game. She didn't end up leaving with Rick, with all the other 5 billions of Morty, and now we see a Morty come out of this who's much more complacent. So I have a few things to talk about. This is what I wanted the majority of this review video to be. This Marta character is seen still in the video game by the end of the episode, and she's taken to like the back room of Blitz and Chits in a nice Indiana Jones reference, which I think is very funny. She's stored back there, which is great, and she's still alive in this video game, still living her life. Obviously, they talk about how like time, it goes faster in the game than in real life, so she'll probably be dead by the time we could meet back up with her. But it does beg the question, does she get out of the game somehow? Is time slowed down? Like what happens? Are we going to revisit this machine later on in a future season, maybe even this season, and see where they're at later on? And will Morty, who's going to maybe be much more complacent, we might have just done a hard reset on our Morty just because maybe the writers didn't know where to go with him. I'll talk about that a little later. Is he going to be more complacent? Is he going to just do what Rick says, kind of like how he was in like seasons 1 and 2, where they've kind of been setting this, thing up for a little while. Ever since like the Purge episode, especially in season 2, where you start seeing that Morty's much more aggressive. He's getting like really peed off by Rick. He's being told what to do all the time, and he's constantly getting the short end of the stick. So by the time we get to the evil Morty reveal in season 5, I feel like that's where all of that has been leading up to, because all of the Mortys have been going through that, essentially, is kind of what the idea is that the majority of these Mortys who have been with their Ricks have been going through this plot line, essentially. So it makes me think, was all of that leading up to just evil Morty? That's kind of what I think, because evil Morty also has this line in the end of season 5 where he says, everyone eventually turns into you all turn into evil Morty eventually. That's kind of the idea. I think that's really fascinating to me. I took that to heart, and it was kind of like, oh, well, we've been setting this thing up with our Morty for a while to be kind of evil. Is that where this is going? But now I'm thinking maybe that's where it went in season 5. I think they're just kind of done with that plot line, and we've kind of done a hard reset on the canon in general in these past 2 episodes with season 6. We are now in the Rick Prime era instead of the evil Morty saga or whatever the fuck. So I can see them trying to kind of do just like this massive restart with the story and where they want to go with it. And I'm okay with that. I think the evil Morty thing wrapped up really nice. I don't think we've seen the last of him. Like I said, I really think he's still going to be coming back. But now you can see them starting to lay these little seeds of things that are going to come back in a future season. With the last episode, we kind of see that Rick Prime is still out there and still hunting our Rick, or vice versa as well. And then we also see in this episode all the stuff with Martha, which I really think is going to come back. That 1/5 billionth of Morty is maybe going to somehow take life in the real world somehow, and then maybe come and find our Morty and tell him everything that Rick has been doing to him, and be like, you got to stand up to this guy. You can't stop being his submissive little bitch. You know, you can't be doing that. You can't. I don't know. I could see all this coming back, though, I guess is my point. It feels like season 1 all over again, not only in tone, but in the way it sets up the story, which I think is really fascinating, and I've been digging season 6 so far. I can't wait for the next episode, though, which is Bethic Twinstinct. I recently said that that was the first episode based off of an article with some bad information, but no, this is the 3rd episode in season 6, coming out next Sunday. Very excited to talk about that on September 18th, 2022. Like I said, next Sunday. So, the description for that is also very vague. It just says, gotta love yourself or no one else will, bro. But I'm assuming it's probably going to be a little bit about Space Beth and all those characters who were absent from this new episode. So I see them coming back in this new one. But what did you guys think about season 6, episode 2? Leave me something about it in the comments below. I really enjoyed it. I had a blast with it. It was, like I said, I'm loving season 6 so far. Can't wait to see where it goes next. So thank you guys for watching this video again, and peace out.